The NFL season has officially started. We've had kickoff, and the Browns get to start their season on Sunday against the Cincinnati Bengals. Owain and I will talk all about that during our lunch break, actually, and we'll invite you along for the ride as well. This is the Cleveland Brit Podcast.
Same old Browns, boys! Just the same old Browns!
Garrett's going to get him, and he knocks the ball away. Caught by Donovan Peoples-Jones! Touchdown! He got it! He got Chubb! He's to the 30, 20, 10, 5, touchdown! Wow, what a struggle. The way it should be, I guess.
Brownies, here we go! Woo, woo. Here we go, Browns!
Yes, just the two of us in today. Sean is day-to-day with a fever at the moment. We wish him all the best, obviously, on route to kickoff. Not unlike Travis Kelce, is questionable to start week one. But with me, as always, Owain, how are you? And also, did you enjoy the game last night? The Lions beating the Chiefs 21-20.
Yeah, I watched the game in 40 this morning. Obviously, said on the prediction pod the Lions were going to win the division in the week, so I was happy to see them get off to a good start.
Certainly helps. Yeah, the Kansas City Chiefs falling to the Lions 21-20 last night. I personally think that it was probably just a showing of how important Travis Kelce is to this team, to that Chiefs team, because every time he was looking for a reliever, just wasn't there. Tony and Moore had more than enough chances to make important grabs, didn't do so, and the Lions just look hungry. Like you say, Owen, I think it's going to be difficult to write them off in pretty much any game this season.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Like you said, hungry. Athletic as well. I think that's quite obvious when you're watching them. And yeah, we'll see how far Jared Goff can take them. But he took the Rams to the Super Bowl, so why not?
Yeah, Goff's 2-0 against Mahomes,
which is wild.
Mad stat, but a true one. Speaking of weird QB stats, Joe Burrow is 1-4. I think it's 1-4 or 1-5 against the Browns. I think it's 1-5 against the Browns across his career so far. Has not yet won in Cleveland. The Bengals obviously coming to Cleveland Browns Stadium on Sunday for kickoff. He's just signed a whopping 5-year, £275 million deal, $219 million sewn up in pound deal, dollars deal with $219 million in guarantees. That makes him the highest paid player in NFL. What do you make of that, Owain? Justified? I mean, the injury concerns probably make the guarantees a little hard to swallow, but the Bengals are proving that they will pay for their best players.
Yeah, I think it's hardly a surprise. We knew they were going to pay him at some point. We knew they were going to pay him a lot of money at some point. And, you know, all of those pipe dreams that the Bengals were cheap and that they weren't going to pay the star QB, they were all exactly that, pipe dream. So not surprised. Jamar Chase will obviously be the next one to break the bank for them. It'll be interesting to see how they sort of, you know, construct their roster.
Higgins and the Higgins and many others as well. It's just they've got a lot of players that they need to pay, and they probably can't pay them all.
Which is a good problem to have, because even if they can't pay them, they'll still get, you know, trade compensation for them because they're good players. So it's never a bad problem to have. But yeah, justified. He's been brilliant over the last few seasons, taking them to the Super Bowl twice in 2 seasons. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that injury is next week, but hopefully we can give him a bad start after that new deal.
Yeah, you've touched upon it there. We'll kick right in. So we're talking about the week. Joe Burrow has obviously been the key form of conversation about this game for the last several weeks, ever since he strained his calf. The whispers were always that he was more likely than not to start week 1, no matter when. Throughout the process, it always seemed like he was ahead of schedule almost. He was out running in preseason games and stuff like that. He's now, they've officially called him day to day, but using words such as encouraging, where we want him to be, etc. It does look like he is ready to go. The question, of course, being, with only a few days of full pads training across the course of an off season, do we really expect him to be firing on all cylinders? And is this potentially a game where Jim Schwartz's new look defense should be circling this as a domination game, perhaps?
Yeah, I think it's a reasonable question to ask. Obviously, when he had that injury, was it last season? He had the appendicitis or whatever he had last off season. He started that season really poorly, if I remember correctly. So, we'll see if he has that sort of injury hangover again. Hopefully he does. But yeah, I'm excited to see Schwartz defense in this one. Obviously, the new look defensive line could cause some real issues with, a Bengals offense line who have had their struggles over the last few years. Obviously, they've been trying repeatedly to improve that. We'll see if Orlando Brown can deal with Miles' speed off the edge, which will be a pretty cool matchup to watch. So yeah, I think obviously that probably holds the key to the Browns' successes on Sundays. How quiet can they keep that Bengals offense? Because I don't think Watson will want to get into a shootout in the first game of the season. But that said, if he does have to get into that shootout, that's what we paid him to do as well. So there's not a ton of pressure on the defense. I would say there's more pressure on the offense, but it would be nice to see a strong showing from them regardless.
Yeah, I think that you raise a good point there, in that the offense obviously has a lot of pressure, and I think that no matter what they do, because of how poorly Watson's final 6 games, but only 6 games of the season were for the Browns, and a middling preseason, we'll call it. He showed more in camp than he did in his starts in preseason. So I think that no matter what, there's going to be a magnifying glass and a lot of eyes on how the offense operates. I think it's about, like you say, preventing that shootout, isn't it? If we can keep the Bengals to a respectable number of points around the 24 mark, as we've kept them to less in Cleveland the past few years. And making sure that we're putting our offense in the best possible position to be able to, essentially say, look, score 4 times, score 3 to 4 times across the entire game, and we should be home and dry. Garrett's definitely one to look at, when you consider that he averages more than a sack a game against Cincinnati, and the fact that when Burrow's sacked more than once against the Browns, he loses. The only time that he beat the Browns was when he was only sacked once. I think that's an interesting stat to have. I'm going to be interested, not necessarily on the Garrett Orlando Brown side, because I think that will contain itself. That will be a battle in itself, but that might equal itself out. But then you got Zadarius Smith on the other side. Essentially, is it Lyle Collins that would be taking up that side, I suppose?
No, I think Jonah
maybe
will be expected to flip to right tackle, I believe.
Right. To be honest with you, I still put Smith up in that matchup. I still think that the edge is with the edge there. Not to create a soundbite, but if you've got Garrett and Smith there, they have their problems at offensive line anyway, and that's been that their tactic has been to almost double up on Garrett, when that's become necessary. Can't really do that with this defensive line though, because obviously you've then got Tomlinson and whoever else in the, you can probably put 4 QB rush-worthy players on the defensive line. So I think that's going to be a really good. I think that this will be a really good indicator to see. It's a less than average line, so realistically, this is one that Shaw will be looking at and licking his lips, thinking, yeah, okay. But then also you got to think Burrow's reaction time might not be exactly where it should be right now. It wasn't in week 1 against the Steelers last year after a long injury layoff from the appendicitis. You got to imagine that a similar thing would follow, where the comfortability is probably not quite there. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting one for sure. On the back end, it looks like Denzel Ward is clear to play, and Juan Thornhill is currently. They haven't given an injury designation yet because that will happen later on in the day. But he was training off to the side, and indications show that his calf strain is more of a precaution than anything else. He's still doing things on the side. He's just not taking part in on-field drills. So, from a secondary point, I mean, first of all, do you think that Ward's concussions are a worry? I would also say as well, because that seems to be something that comes up quite a bit. And then, with Thornhill and Ward not exactly, 100%, does that leave a door open, and therefore does that put more pressure on the line?
I don't really like going over the concussion stuff about Ward because, I think people fall into a trap quite regularly with stuff like this where, they tend to, say statements like he should retire or whatever without, having
no, definitely not in the market of doing that.
No, without having like a medical degree or even knowing, Denzel Ward's ins and outs, which like all of the doctors that work with the Browns do. So like, I find it quite puzzling actually when people, take that stance because obviously they haven't got the knowledge to do so. So, am I concerned about Denzel Ward's concussions? As a bystander, I'd probably be a little bit concerned. As someone who's had a few concussions themselves, and touch wood, I'm okay now. Like, they're just part and parcel of sport, unfortunately. People get them. He's recovered from this one, I think, much quicker than the last one. I think that's something to know.
That's true. I think the last one took about 4 weeks, didn't it? This one took like a week and a half.
This one's taken a week and a half. So I think that's something you should probably, jot down when you're making these massive statements about Denzel Ward and retiring. But as for the other point, I think, if he and Thornhill weren't to play, that would be a massive blow to the team because, you're coming up against probably the best wide receiver core in the NFL. Obviously, the strength of the Bengals, their pass game. So, and it also affects the matchups that the players have as well. You'd obviously, like having Newsome in the slot, Ward on Chase, and then Emerson on Higgins because the skill sets sort of match up really nicely there.
Yeah.
But when one of those pieces is missing, then that can affect the whole matchup game there. So hopefully they both do play, and I think that would be a big sort of positive for the defense and would allow the pass rush to get after it a little bit more. It would allow probably more blitzes from Schwartz as well. He likes to be an aggressive play caller. So, if you've got Ward and Thornhill on the back end, you'd feel more comfortable about sending a blitz more often. So, hopefully they both play. And hopefully the time that they've missed doesn't show, especially Denzel, because he's going to have a really tough game to kick off the season.
Absolutely, agreed. Let's flip over to our offense. It's something which you were keen to to bring up as probably your key to the game. What are you looking for on Sunday? I think that we've almost kind of been lulled into a sense of everything's going to be fine, everything's working its way up. Deshaun in a press conference this week said that he doesn't want to get back to the standard he was at Houston. He wants to be better, and he feels like he is a better quarterback than he was at Houston. I'll believe that when I see it. The offensive lines. The offensive line maybe has some questions after last year. It's not quite as dominant as it was last year as well. Newfound wide receiver core that's got a lot more skills than last year. What is it that what would be success apart from obviously a win when it comes to the offensive side of the ball come Sunday?
I think obviously, without stating the obvious, is all eyes are going to be on Deshaun Watson, and they'd like to see what the difference is in a regular season game than what he showed us last year. From a personal standpoint, I wouldn't really mind too much if this gets into a shootout. I know it's obviously
because it leaves it within case if he can score points.
Exactly. Because regardless of this game, even the key to the season is the offense being able to score more points than any other offense. Like defense in the NFL has got to a point where if you've got a good one, then great. But the offenses carry the defenses in this league. So to see a Browns offense that can continually put up high scores, late 20s, 30s, even the odd 40 points, that would be really encouraging to see. So hopefully we can see a little bit more of an expansive pass game tomorrow. I think that's important. I think see obviously the new things they've been working on in the run game, as it comes to sort of the running out of the gun formation and stuff like that, which hasn't been a feature of Kevin Stefanski's offenses in the past. So we will, I'm sure, see a little, a few different things. Elijah Moore out of the backfield, I'm probably expected to see tomorrow, considering Goodwin has returned to the team as well. So I'm quite excited.
That was a surprise, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a really pleasant surprise, Goodwin coming back. I thought that may, as without contradicting myself about what I said about Ward, I thought that he may, that sounded like a serious injury from all accounts. Yeah. It's so nice to see him back, and obviously from a football perspective, he does still possess that thing that not many of the wide receivers we have, do have. I know Elijah Moore is very fast, 4.35. I think he ran at the combine or the pro day, because I don't know if he was a COVID year draft pick. Maybe not.
We know he's fast. We've seen the tape. He's
we know he's fast. But obviously, the more speed you have on the field, the more the defense has to stretch themselves, and then it brings people like David Njoku, David Bell, those players that can take advantage of the underneath. Even Elijah Moore, because he's very good with the ball in his hands. So I'm excited to see Goodwin. I'm excited to see Moore, and I'm excited to see an expansive pass game, because I think that's something we've been lacking for a long time.
Yeah, agreed. It's probably the two things that I'm really looking at on Sunday. One, we've already touched on the defensive side of the ball. How quick can we get to Burrow with this defensive line? Because that first preseason game, the second one, against Washington, I think it was, the speed that we got to the quarterback with our ones was tremendous. And if we can continue that into regular season play against the Bengals, that's going to be a statement of intent right there. But on the offensive side of the ball, it is about the pass game. I firmly believe that Nick Chubb will do Nick Chubb things when he is called upon. I think that he'll still get 80, 90 yards, in this game, and he'll make it look easy. But with all respect to him, it's going to be about how exciting this offense looks with Deshaun Watson under center. He's now had, a whole off season to go over this playbook. He's been in, doing some of the design with Stefanski as well. You can imagine, he should feel a complete sense of ownership over this offense. He's got the weapons to make out, like you say, weapons that do different things. When you look at, you got your speed in Moore and Goodwin, you got your big guy in Peoples-Jones, you've got your perfect route runner in Amari Cooper, and this is a guy who I think is going to have a monster season, David Njoku. In all the stuff that I've seen with the preseason stuff and all the rest of it, all the whispers have been about Njoku again being clutch in the red zone. Njoku again, doing things, getting him out of trouble, this, that, and the other. If Njoku can realize that potential and become one of the dependable tight end options, you're laughing, because even with a less than good passing offense, if you've got a dependable tight end, I mean, I think like Madden, right? Now I'm currently playing Madden 24. My pass offense is terrible. I play all Madden mode, even though my pass offense is terrible. I'm mainly a flipping play action bootleg, and I run out of the pocket immediately because I don't trust myself in it. But no matter what, I think Njoku gets about 10 receptions a game because he's always there, he's always at the sticks, and he's dependable. If he can be that guy, if he can be like Mark Andrews is to the Ravens, for example, and just be that dude, I think that we're going to end up with a lot more points, a much happier passing offense, and just a smoother operation all round. And I think that this is where he has the opportunity to really make that name for him this year, especially with someone who is more mobile and looking to get out of situations as Watson is. Right. So,
yeah.
I'm glad you agree. So that's pretty much the talking points for this. Score predictions. Let's move on to score predictions. Why not? Now, you see you're scrunching your nose already. Now, we both said Browns to win this game when we were talking on Monday. Nothing's really changed on a squad front apart from Juan Thornhill being less likely to play than he was at the start. But I think that he'll be either questionable or good to go. So squad prediction even. But you can tell I didn't get any sleep last night watching the Chiefs game. What do you reckon it will be?
I'm going to go 30-27 to the Browns.
Nice. So a bit, almost a shootout. Almost a...
Almost.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Bro. So, yeah, sort of on the reaches of a shootout, but maybe not quite to that level. Sorry, my podcast settings went haywire there. So you're saying 30-27. I'm going to say... I'm going to be a little lower, I think. I think I'm going to say something more on the lines of 24-20 Browns. I think that we will prevent we'll prevent a shootout on the defensive side, cause panic early, maybe get a turnover early. Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Do you still hear me? Yeah. It's all right. This has become a complete nightmare. You can tell I'm in the office, can't you? So prevent a shootout, prevent a lot of points from being scored, and we look to run it on the ground. That's where I see this coming to. In terms of, on a weekly basis, we will be doing pick-ems, but I think that because I haven't had time to be able to get round to actually sorting out the picks this week. Let's just go with maybe your biggest upset, or like one of which might not seem necessarily necessary in with the. I mean, you're definitely one of those. Give us your top pick for the week.
So, I was just thinking along the same lines as you. So just looking through my pick'ems, I did miss the game last night because my pick'ems weren't working properly. But I have filled them all in. I've gone for two that are against the odds. Well, more than two, but the bigger ones. I've got the Bucks to beat the Vikings, which is would be a big upset by pick'ems. By the scores, as 94% of people have picked the Vikings. So I've got Baker's boys going to the US Bank Stadium and get a win.
No, that's do you know what? My missus would love that. She'd probably wrap her arm around you when it comes to Sunday night if the Bucks somehow beat the Vikings there.
I've also got the Jets beat the Bills.
Oof. Okay, talk to me about that one.
I just think Rodgers is the type of person that's going to turn up loads of questions about how good he is still, how he's going to acclimatize to his new team. His new team is really good. I really do think they're really, really talented. And I think he's going to thrive there. So, yeah, I've got them to beat the Bills. Only 33% of people agree with me, so we'll see.
You do have the Jets to win the division as well, don't you? I think that we said on Monday. So this would definitely be a statement of intent towards that. I'm just thinking. I think I've got the Vikings to win that one. I think I do have the Bills to win that one. My main shock of the week, and just taking a look at it now and just thinking as to what that actually is. So I'm trying to look at the spreads as well and see as to how that plays. I've got the Dolphins to beat the Chargers. That's probably the most. That's probably the biggest shock, at least according to the bookies, that I've got. They say that there's a 2.5 point swing in favor of the Chargers on that one, but I do have the Dolphins down to win that just because I think the Dolphins are a really, really good team, and I feel like the Chargers are starting to see a slight nudge towards decline. Well, decline from that sort of high place in terms of talent's one thing, but basically I think the Dolphins are what we thought that the Chargers were going to be, and I think that you're going to see that difference come Sunday, and that's probably the only real shock that I've got there. Remember, you can join our NFL Pick'em league. You should be able to see the link on our Twitter page. If you just scroll down a couple of posts, you'll be able to see that there. We're giving away a jersey to the winner, and we will be doing everything in our power to make sure it's not Owain. It's whether that is through just telling him wrong information, fake injury designations, etc. We don't know yet, but we're going to do what we can to make sure it's not Owain. Sounds about fair, doesn't it? Maybe we should have a no staff winning rule that goes to second place or something.
I was about to say that if I win it, then we'll do some sort of spin on a wheel.
Owain says spin on a wheel. I say it goes to the next available person. We'll work it out. But in any way, he's not winning it this year. I refuse to believe it. Right, so that's everything we've got time for. I've got to get back to work, and I think that Owain does too. He also has a game this evening, which is it is this evening, isn't it? A training last night and a game tonight. So good luck in that. I've just seen that Owain's joined the NFL Pick'em League now to terrorise us all. But now do get in on that. For anyone that is coming to the kickoff party with the full 10 yards at Fells Birmingham, we will both see you there, as well as Sean. Sean, hope as long as he's feeling better. We don't want to give anybody the bubonic plague, but yes, we will be in attendance. You can still get tickets for that as well. full10yards.co.uk/kickoff. It's free to get a ticket. And then there's also drinks vouchers available as well on the back end if you want that. But that is on Broad Street in Birmingham with every game live, including Browns Bengals. It's our watch party. Got quite a few Browns fans coming down to it. If you want to be part of that, hit us up at that site or just drop us a link at Believe and Brett where you can find all of our stuff as well. Owain, thanks for spending your lunch break with me talking about Brown Bengals. Everyone, thank you for taking the time out of your day to listen to us as well. Go Browns on Sunday, and we will speak to you next week when we review that game and look ahead to week 2. Thank you very much.